Camp here in Richmond, Virginia. The First Take training camp tour rolls on, and there he is, Kirk Cousins. You like that? He will be joining us later, along with Josh Norman, D'Angelo Hall. Stephen A. loves when he says you like that. It's one of his favorites. He's just shaking his head at me right now. But we're so excited to be here. A great crowd, and a bunch of the Redskins team will be joining us in just a bit. But we want to focus here on Micheal Vick. He's ready to make a comeback for one last time, according to our Josina Anderson. Vick, who played for the Steelers last season, said he's training in Florida, running longer distances than usual, and he believes he's faster than he's been in 2 to 3 seasons. Quote, "This is the last year for me, and I'm going to wait it out," he said. Ryan, I want to start with you. Which team should take a chance on Micheal Vick?
Well, if you're a team that doesn't have a proven backup, you know, he's already spoke about the Cowboys. And if you look at that team with Dak Prescott now being your main backup, a guy whose skill set in college was very similar to Micheal Vick. He's probably not faster than Micheal Vick. He was a 4.8 guy coming out last year. He doesn't know as much or doesn't have the experience that Micheal Vick has. So you look at the Cowboys, and that seems like a fit. But if you have a team with a young quarterback, you know, you might think, okay, you lose Foles, maybe the St. Louis Rams. If you have a team with a young quarterback, you don't want the pressure of a Micheal Vick in camp. So he has to go to a team with a proven quarterback that you feel like doesn't have a backup who can step right in and play and produce for this team along with getting you wins. But I don't necessarily want to talk about the team that's the best fit. Let's talk about what Micheal Vick would need to be a successful backup. If you look at last year in Pittsburgh, they said he was great in the locker room, really good for guys who had been through things and were coming out of things, and able to give them wisdom and impart experience on how to be a better person. But if you look at him on the field, the one reason I think Antonio Brown doesn't have 2,000 yards is because of games Micheal Vick played in. Micheal Vick needs time. He needs the right type of play calling. He needs a team to adjust to him. So when you look at that and trying to figure out what team he fits on, where can he go, he has to go somewhere with a creative OC who understands that when it's Micheal Vick time, we can't run Ben Roethlisberger plays. When it's Micheal Vick time, we can't run Tony Romo plays. And I think that really shortens the list for you when you're a team looking for a quarterback that's not just based on his talent, the fact that he might still run 4.5, or the fact that he can throw it as far as you want him to throw it. It's if you look at the games with Le'Veon Bell, the games with Antonio Brown, who we know is uncoverable, he didn't look good to me last year. And so I think the learning curve for somebody like him shouldn't be as deep or as long as it is for Micheal Vick, but he needs to get somewhere now if he's going to be effective.
I think when you're talking about backup quarterbacks, you're talking about the best available guy. And I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys right now. And McCown, I think, is a better pick. But you have to give something up for Josh McCown. It costs you resources in a league where there are intentionally limited resources. It's going to cost you something. So maybe it's still worth it if the price is right, you get McCown. Now, if you can't, Micheal Vick just costs you the dough, and it ain't going to be that much. And now the question is, how is he as a backup? Look, his QBR last year was low. It was low. It was still higher than Nick Foles, by the way, who just got a job, but it was low. However, Micheal Vick, as a starter, went 2-1 on a playoff team. You know, and here's the thing. I know there are a lot of dog owners in this country, and they can't get over Vick's moral transgression of the past. And that's legitimate. If you can't, you can't. That's on you. You have to make that decision for yourself. However, he has paid his debt through the legal system, the NFL, and the question becomes, if a guy gets a second chance, do you really give him that second chance? Does he start, if not with a clean slate, then at least with a chance to show you that he has reformed himself? And I think if you look at Vick's behavior on and off the football field and in the locker room, I mean, if that isn't a guy who's trying to make the most out of his second chance, I don't know what is. So I understand that the brand of the Cowboys, Stephen A., is a tough one to take on a Micheal Vick, another guy with a troubled past. On the other hand, if you're looking for a backup and you don't want to give up resources and you see he can get it done still on the NFL level and he's the best available guy, I say roll with Vick.
Couple of things I'd like to say before I get to my point. Number one, I don't want to hear anything about Micheal Vick's past.
I agree.
He paid his debt to society, and more importantly than that, the NFL is in no moral position to judge anybody. I understand that there are people that have engaged in criminal activity that have not done things as egregious as Mike Vick did with the whole dogfighting scandal. But they didn't serve 18 months in the federal penitentiary either. And they didn't change their life around and become the epitome of redemption that he has become. I don't want to hear that. That's point number one. Point number two, I don't want to hear about Michael Vick being a member of the Dallas Cowboys, because Michael Vick is a good man. Michael Vick has changed his ways, and he's an unbelievable human being. And I don't believe that anybody who's overcome what he has overcome needs to contaminate themselves by having to wear a Dallas Cowboy uniform and being associated with that organization. Nobody deserves that after going through what Michael Vick went through.
I didn't see that coming.
Okay?
Me neither. That's the reverse of what I thought coming.
I saw it coming.
That's number two. Number three. Now let's get to this. Michael Vick could be ideal for someplace like Denver. You know, experienced team, leaning on their defense, not expecting much from their offense. That's the team that comes to my mind. It would be ideal for him. As a person, do I want Michael Vick to end up in a situation like that? Absolutely. But I must confess to you, even though I'm wishing the best for him and I hope that he gets it, does he deserve it? The answer is no. And here's why. Atlanta and then the New York Jets, those are two destinations where he's openly admitted that at one time or another he was ill-prepared for the job at hand because he didn't take the job seriously. In the case of Atlanta, he was feeling himself. In the case of the New York Jets, because he came there to be a backup, he wasn't prepared. You can't be a quarterback on an NFL level assigned to potentially be a backup with a history of literally not being prepared due to a dereliction of duty, but have us on national television singing about how you should get an opportunity. I hope he does, because he's a good man. And I wish him well, because he deserves it after paying his debt and turning his life around. It's an unbelievable story. But strictly from the perspective of an NFL executive, why should I take a chance on you when your QBR was 31? The season before that, it was 21 with the New York Jets. And on top of it all, primarily due to a dereliction of duty because you didn't take the job seriously enough.
I'll tell you why. First of all, it's a great point. If you want to stand on principle, that's a great point. But we just acknowledged that Vick is an example of a person who can actually change. Over time, he can change, make dramatic and lasting changes in his life for the better. Now, in the case of his first run with Atlanta, he did not optimize what he had there in his talent. In the case of the Jets, he foolishly, though he was getting his life together, he foolishly didn't prepare because, as you said, Stephen A., he thinks he's going to be a backup anyway, and that's no excuse. But we've seen a guy make progress in his personal life. We've seen a guy rally the troops, and Ben Roethlisberger comes on the field and he throws the winning pass and overcomes San Diego on Monday Night Football, kind of rallies the team. What makes us think that he can't again learn and get better again?
For me, it's not about being able to change that.
Right.
For me, it's about what I saw on the field, whether it be the New York Jets or the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's about him looking like he didn't know where the ball should go. And we've seen
You're looking at it like the
quarterback.
That's it about you. I get both of your points. My point is, if I'm an NFL executive, do I risk my stature by taking the chance on somebody who literally was derelict in his duties
and
as a
didn't
backup?
prepare in the past. And we have to go to break, but that reminds me of D'Angelo Williams yesterday, who stepped in for Le'Veon Bell, said he prepared for a full 16, and then he led the league in rushing touchdowns at a 33-year-old running back, and because he took it so seriously. When we come back here at Redskins camp in Richmond, Virginia, we're talking the NFC East. Stephen A. brought up the Cowboys. Will Washington repeat as division champs in 2016? That is the question. Kirk Cousins will also join us later. Stay here.